What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sales Remastered. My name is Daniel. I'm your host. In this episode, I'm going to cover something that I know for certain is affecting us all. And it has to obviously do with selling rate and fees, right? And so if you're a mortgage loan officer right now, and even if you have a viable deal in front of you, meaning you can genuinely deliver a massive amount of benefit, more than even most that you come in contact with that day, you put it together, you deliver it, and that prospect or that lead just cannot seem to get around the interest rate, meaning that they're ignoring the life-changing events, they're ignoring the improvement of their life, and the prospect's hardwired brain to only base their decision off of the interest rate is prohibiting you with completing that sale. It's stopping you from making any progress in closing that transaction, or at least starting to close that transaction, right? And I get it. I completely understand how it is. You spend a lot of time, typically about an hour of work, just to get up to a point of pitching the deal, right? And having everything get to a point where you're asking for the sale. And it's horrible to start that out and obviously negotiate price, and then beyond that you have 30 to 45 days of processing time to look forward to, and it's just real tense, right? Like, you don't want that prospect to be sold in a way where they're going to have remorse over that 30 to 45 days. You really want to implant the confidence, the loyalty, and the trust that you're going above and beyond them, and you deserve their business. And so what I want to do is share with you in this episode, different ways of how to get around that sole focus just being on the interest rate. And I want to add a note here, is because what I had noticed in my own delivery was that I was unknowingly manifesting certain objections, meaning that I used to use as a tactic in order to get the lead to follow me and give me more information and talk to me just a little bit longer. Unknowingly, my instinctive reaction was just to say, hey, we got the lowest rates. I didn't think anything of it, right? In some cases, if they called in for a particular rate, like let's say I was talking to a lead who got a mailer, or maybe called in from a radio ad, and that lead keeps asking for the 3.5, and even though I know that may not necessarily be applicable to him, I kept unconsciously repeating that 3.5, like, oh yeah, let me go and work that 3.5 up for you, because I believed that was luring them my way to give me more information, give me more engagement, and more importantly, actually show up at the pitch call or the presentation time. And looking back now, where I am now, what I know now, and looking back at things I would have changed, I'm going to share those things with you so that you don't go down that path of lost sales, frustration, headache, just complete chaos, because everything is based on just rate and fees, right? And it just seems like it's a never-ending game. All along, I see my colleagues and my coworkers and other people on the floor accelerating, like they're just going, they're just flying, and I'm like, how do you do it? How we have the same market, we have the same leads, we got the same pricing. How are you able to do this? And so I started studying it. I started really networking with the top producers, and of course the mentors I already had. I would consult with them and confide with them my frustrations. And I would email them or send them a message of like, hey man, I'm running into a wall on this, and it seems like I feel like I'm delivering enough benefit where it should be a no-brainer, but I can't seem to get over the price. And so a few things that I did is number one, in the very beginning, when you're originating the interest, right? And I'm not talking about interest rate, I'm talking about interest to continue the conversation. Excuse me. Getting a little under the weather here, but that's not going to stop me. I'm still going to deliver you value. And so my whole motive, or my strategy per se, was to tell them that I had the lowest rate, I had the best pricing around. And what I started to do was take a step back and analyze it through empathy. I would now actually experience the process through my own prospects' ears, per se, because it was all over the phone, right? And so you want to know your prospect's view. And I started recording myself. I started figuring out that I continuously kept saying, we have the lowest rate, we have the lowest fee, I can beat their rate, I can beat their fees. And that's all that was mainly the, my tie-in, right? Like I would always just say that because the prospects in particular was always around rate and fees, and I understood that. And so my effort of being proactive and addressing those concerns, I thought I was doing good. But all along, the prospects didn't understand what was going on. All they understood was what I was telling them, and I kept the entire focus around rate and fees. And so I held back on that. I didn't focus on rate and fees. I stopped even talking about interest rate. If they ask, well, what are your rates? Instead of saying my rates are and reading them the lowest rate on a 10-year fixed, hoping that they would continue the call, I would actually kind of deflect that question and say, yeah, I'm actually going to get that to you. I'm going to email it to this account. Is that where you can receive the email? And they would say yes. Say, okay, cool. I'm going to go and send you out the figures so that you can actually see it in writing. But let me make sure that I send the right information to you. Let me confirm real quick, and then go back into the application. And even if they were to say, hey, you know what, Daniel, I don't want to give you any more information. Just tell me what your rate is or what your fees are. And again, I would deflect it and say, yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting for you. As a matter of fact, I appreciate your time and your patience. And because of it, I can tell that your time's pretty valuable, because you're in a hurry. So the last thing I want to do is send you some information that's not even worth your time. If you're looking for generic information, I trust in you that you would know that you can get that off of a radio ad or a TV commercial. But for you taking the time to call in, I want to make sure that you get what you want. If that is what you want, I'm going to send that to you. But let me confirm real quick and go right back into the application. And so I kind of developed a different strategy, and it was always in the momentum of, yeah, I'm getting that for you. Let me just confirm real quick. It was always like real quick. Okay, let me just go and confirm real quick. And what I noticed was I started changing my vocabulary from, we got the best rate, we got the best fees, to, yeah, I'm going to go and get that to you real quick. Hey, I can help you. I started planting those phrases, and that is actually what made it work, is because the focus wasn't on rate and fees. It was all about, hey, I can help you. I'm going to make this quick. I'm going to make sure you're not wasting time. And that's what people value, is their time. That's why everyone's in a rush, and that's why everyone kind of wants the condensed, summarized version of your quote. Even though you don't know their last name, they just think that you can get it. And that just proves that our leads, our prospects, just simply don't understand our world. And in some cases, this can be our advantage if we let it be. And so through my initial conversation, I ridded all the focus on interest rate and payment. But more importantly, I did another thing. I started reiterating what they told me using words that they used. So in other words, if they were talking about their main goal, I would figure out why they need the result of that goal. And so if their goal was to lower the rate, I instead focused, instead of on interest rate, pricing, and fees, my focus was on, well, what do you plan on doing with the difference, with the result? And then they would tell me, well, I plan to do this with the result. And it could have been anything from, increase my 401k or afford my child's tuition. There was always a reason why they needed a specific result, and I just simply leveraged that. And so in the process of determining why they needed a specific result, it led to other benefits. And this is what you hear me talk about on my other content about trickled benefit. And ultimately what it did was it created this ripple effect, if you will, where if I improved their budget, it would improve their expenditures, it would improve their assets, it would improve their quality of life, it would improve their ability to provide. And so all of these kind of side effects or aftershocks of the first benefit, the primary benefit, which was I want a lower rate, I was able to paint a picture but use it with their own words. And there's something magical that happens when someone else hears their own thoughts coming from another person's mouth. That is what creates bond. That is what creates loyalty, is because you are different than anyone else. You hear me say all the time, make noise in a different way, and that's what I'm talking about. And so besides that, I started delivering the information or my pitch in a different way as well. And so instead of, the traditional way of saying, hey, you know what, I got a couple options for you, please grab a pen and paper. Option number one, you have a 30-year fix at this interest rate. Now I can give this much lender credit and I can deliver this much in monthly savings. I can do this, 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 and this. And so, that's just how it worked out. And what I noticed is that if they did not like the interest rate, well, then I'm done for, right? I'm cooked. Because if I said that, hey, even if I had a substantial amount of benefit and I was able to check every single box that they had to do on their to-do list, their goal list, right? And I rippled out the benefit, I created that trickle benefit, I painted that picture, I delivered it flawlessly, I still wasn't getting the traction. They were still focused on the interest rate. And then, of course, like I always do, I took a step back and I really analyzed the situation. I put myself in my prospect's shoes and say, okay, well, if I was hearing this, with an unbiased opinion, and, we're our worst critic, right? So you're going to pick apart more than anyone your delivery. You're going to find certain holes to fill in so that you can improve the next time. And so what I found was that I was leading into my pitch with just the interest rate. Meaning that you have, and also the word option. So I would say, your option one, you got 4.5 or whatever. Option number two, you got 4.375 or 4.625, whatever it was. But ultimately what I was doing was I was actually bringing on the objection myself, because I was opening with the sole focus being on the interest rate. And I forgot to understand that if my prospects did not agree with that number, the chances of them absorbing the rest of my message, which was the sale after I just announced the interest rate, it's like I showed my cards, their focus was still on the interest rate. It's kind of like when you're reading a book, right? And you go through a certain phrase or paragraph that really catches your eye and it really gets you thinking, but you're still in the momentum of moving, so you're still reading. And so you're 2 pages in, but your thoughts are still on that paragraph from 3 pages ago. And then you notice you're not even absorbing the information you just passed. It's kind of like that. And it's because something took your attention away, and something put you down this path where you completely overlooked or ignored or unknowingly didn't even see the true value of the pages after, because you were still stuck on that first paragraph or that paragraph. And why I use this analogy is because our prospects, if they're caught in their thoughts or their judgment of the actual interest rate before they understand how it's used as a vehicle to get to where they want to go, their interest, their enthusiasm, their motivation to continue moving forward with you and listening to your careful crafted presentation, you've lost them already. So in other words, no matter what kind of great benefit, you could say, hey, this program is going to help you walk on water. This program is going to help you buy your own unicorn. It could have been amazing things at the very end, but because it opened up with, hey, your option number one is 4.25 or 4.5, then I ultimately lost them. And so they were ignoring the benefits. They were ignoring the options. And when I said option one, 4 point blah, option number two, 4 point blah, option number three, 3.99 or whatever, they psychologically, they passed on every single option, no matter what the benefit was. And all they could think of was either those options are not exactly what I'm looking for. And so what I did to fix it was I flipped it. So instead of saying, hey, I got an option for you, grab a pen and paper, how I would do it is saying, hey, I was putting the information together for you and I'm about to send it to your email. I found something and I really want to run it by you because I think that, you'll like this. If anything, put me on the speakerphone just so, so Mr. or Mrs. is there, they can hear me. And I'm just going to confirm a few things real quick and I'll send it on its way. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And what that did was, unlike me calling them and saying, hey, I got a few options for you, which ultimately put them on guard because that puts them in a position where they are being sold to and they know it. Again, unknowingly, I was putting them in that mind state. I was putting them in that frame. And I didn't know it, right? It's because everyone else did this. Everyone else was doing it that way. I thought that was the best way until it wasn't. And then I learned a different way. I learned a new way, the new ways and techniques that I'm sharing with you here at Sales Remastered. I started saying, you know what? I was going through the information, about to send it out, And I thought about something. You had mentioned in the first phone call that it was important for you to create the monthly savings necessary to afford the increased expense of living, because as of right now, you actually, your net that goes to your monthly savings after your bills are paid is at a zero, if not in some cases a deficit. And that actually led to the increasing of your credit card. You mentioned to me that it was important for you to fix that. And so I considered that. And as I was putting the information together, I found something. I believe that if your true goal is to do such, then we can, and now I start going into the benefits, right? I said, now what I can do is help you achieve this by decreasing your payment, and again, reiterating the same exact trickled benefits that they told you. So, you know, in my review, I found that in creating the monthly savings, not only were we able to, you know, lower your monthly payment, put an extra $300 in the side, but also through the payment deferral and escrow refund, you're able to wipe out almost half the credit card debt, which would remove an additional $200 in monthly payment. Now your total monthly savings, payment to payment, is $400 or $500 per month. And why this is important is because as of right now, you had mentioned to me that there is zero left. And in some cases, you have to put bills on credit cards or groceries on credit cards. And that's actually the most riskiest thing to do. So I wanted to run this by you just to make sure you're protected and you understand what your alternative options are. And so besides the fact of this helping you improve your bank balance, besides the fact of this improving your FICO score because your credit cards are maxed out, and besides you having the ability now to afford your living expenses, what this does is it positions you long-term wise to be more efficient credit-wise, financially, and also at the same time protect your financial stability and ensure your home ownership long-term. So this is ultimately what it is your monthly payment would go from, and then I would add their mortgage payment with the credit cards I could pay through payment deferral and also escrow refund, or even if it was a cash out refinance, and say, so your total payment is $3,000. I could take that total payment down to $2,500, and ultimately this will create the stepping stone that you need to achieve every single thing that you wanted. Now, the reason why I want to run this by you is because I want to get your feedback. What are your thoughts on that? Now that is a way to deliver a pitch versus, hey, you got option 1, option 2, and then you're putting them in guard. So I hope that helps you because it's helped me. It's helped me avoid having to sell based on rate and fees. It's helped me become more efficient, gain loyalty, and earn the admiration from my prospects to literally refer me to their friends, their family, their neighbors. And the best part about it is when they referred me, those leads never asked me about rate and fees. Of course they did, but I noticed that more and more leads that would ask me for rate and fees, I had a better way of handling it. And so I hope this video does that for you today. It enables you to handle what our market is giving us to sell. And if it does help you, please leave a comment, like, share this with your team, share it with your comrades, your team, your camp, your team manager, your sales team, whatever. You know, send this out and let them know and say, hey man, I see you're grinding, and it doesn't seem like all the effort and time you're putting in is reaping you the reward on your investment. And so what I want to do is introduce you to Sales Remastered. I want you to look at this sales script that he has for free at salesremastered.com. Check out the channels that he has on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, right? All these different platforms that he's putting out free content on. Did you know that it's there? And did you know that this information has worked with him and his team, and it's enabled him to position him and his team as the #1 team and #1 manager within one of the largest companies in the nation, privately owned mortgage companies doing $1 billion a month. Did you know that you had that resource? And I'd like to hear what they say, so comment below. Let me know what they say, and let me know if this is helpful. Try it out. Practice makes perfect. You're gonna have to go through different trial and errors. You know, it's going to be foreign at first because you're trying to, like, you know, relearn how to walk. You've been walking one way all your life, and now you're learning a new, more efficient way to walk. Of course, you're going to want to revert back to your old ways, but if you could stay persistent and have fun with it, you're going to notice that you're going to actually tear down a lot of the objections and roadblocks that are stopping you from reaching that next level. So I hope to take you there, and I'll see you at the top.